I just watched the film. Start off by giving fans a little bit of a taste of the premise of the film and who your character is.
So this is not just your run-of-the-mill revenge story. This is a revenge love story that is carried by a woman. So there are certain elements of it that do stand out on the page. So our story begins with Brenner Baker, played by yours truly, Ellen Hollman, and her husband, Dylan, played by Matt Passmore. And we're just going out in the woods, just going out camping, getting away from the harrowing day-to-day humdrum of work. And lo and behold, we come across a cabin to shield ourselves from the rain. And turns out, well, it's a hub for a drug and weapon cartel. One thing leads to another, and my husband meets an untimely demise. And instead of going to the authorities or rolling over and accepting it, your lead protagonist, Brenner Baker, goes on a revenge-filled murder spree. So that is basically in the trailer. So I'm not giving anything away there. The question is, how does she do it? Well, she does it in a very clever, sneaky, and yes, aggressive way. And the one thing that separates this film from many others, aside from it being a female-led protagonist, is that every single person on screen is doing their own action. So it is gritty, it is authentic, and it is practical, and we have the bumps, bruises, scars, etc. to prove it.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that. How did you prepare to do all this this physical work on the film? I read someplace that you have a background in martial arts.
Yes, I've been a jiu-jitsu addict. Hi, my name is Ellen Hollman. I'm a jiu-jitsu addict. I've been in that world for several years now, and I've also had the honor to train alongside my husband, Stephen Dunleavy, who was the stunt coordinator on this, as well as second unit director. We both did action unit together. I've had the honor of training alongside his stunt team, 8711 action design team, for several years, doing judo, jiu-jitsu, and all kinds of choreo to familiarize yourself with them. They've done such films as the John Wick franchise, Deadpool, Atomic Blonde, and a cadre of others. So I've learned many tricks of the trade that were incorporated on screen, particularly a oneer that we're very proud of. So that we were inspired by Atomic Blonde, and like let's do. Actually, it was my husband's idea. There's two separate sequences. He's like, "What if we shot this as a oneer?" I'm like, "You're insane. We have no budget and we have no time. Like, what are you thinking?" Except for the fact I love it. So yeah, we managed to pull it off.
So are you attracted to roles where you have to do a lot of this, since you have this background in jiu-jitsu? Are you attracted to roles that let you kind of show that off?
Yeah, I mean, it's something that I would do regardless. I mean, even when I don't have a job, my husband and I are up at 4:45 in the morning, and we're on the mats by 6:45. Like we're still. Once you're an addict, you need to get your fix. I mean, it's become a lifestyle of mime. Not just from a recreational standpoint, but just the friends and the relationships that I've made over the years have really, it's a part of my life. But to answer your question, I find myself in other genres as well. I think there's a few Hallmark Lifetime movies out there. There are some procedural dramas I've done where it is strictly the drama. But I do love the physicality and the challenge of adding physicality to a role, because it's one thing to be able to show up on your mark and cry on cue, but if you can do it while throwing a guy over your head, well, I think that's even more interesting. And if you don't call in a double to do it. So I think that's even more enthralling to watch, in my opinion.
Yeah. And is the revenge plot aspect of the film, is that something that it made you really want to do this, or was there another reason that really made this the one?
Really, it was the collaboration and the fact that the director Stephen Durham had no ego about allowing me to have my talents in every aspect of this. I'd known Stephen Durham prior from collaborating on a script with him from a literary standpoint. So he knew essentially what he was getting into by hiring me. And of course, with my production company comes my husband, Stephen Dunleavy, and his keen eye from an action design standpoint. And that's how that opened up that door. And really, you could say, sparked my curiosity and interest. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. If I can produce, co-write, and be a performer in this, then this is something I want to be involved in. And he said yes. My God, he actually said yes. I'm like, really? I'm just gonna take shit over, right? And he was fine with that. No ego about it. So thank you, Stephen Durham.
Yeah, and how did that make you feel to be involved in all the different aspects of this film in a way that's probably pretty unusual?
It's certainly a lot more pressure, but it's a pressure that I welcome because it's different than as a performer. My God, it's going on nearly 20 years now. Long enough to know better, but do it anyway. When you're a performer, you wear someone else's clothes, someone else does your makeup, you say someone else's lines, you step on a mark that somebody told you to, and you do your performance, and then you go in your trailer and you wait until they knock on your door and tell you to show up on set again. As a collaborator, as someone who's involved in the production aspect of it, you have so much more skin in the game. Catering didn't show up on time. Guess what? Your crew doesn't eat. Guess what? That means an hour lunch turns into a 90-minute lunch. Oh man, like every 30 minutes is thousands of dollars. Oh wait, like someone sprained their ankle. Oh man, should we replace them? We've already established them. Things like that. And that my brain has always operated like 1,000 miles an hour. And this, among several other irons in the pot, have given me an opportunity to really utilize my abilities to their full capability.
Yeah.
Like so many times on a set, I'm like, oh, this isn't gonna match. Like, oh, like continuity is totally screwed. Like, oh my God, this dialogue doesn't make sense. Or, oh, this wardrobe is wrong. There's so many times that I've wanted to speak up. And even a lot of work that I've already done, I've completely revised a lot of my dialogue without getting the credit for it. And I'm sick of that. I'm sick of doing all these revisions and not getting literary credit. So I'm finally like, yeah, guys, you're not getting any free bones anymore. Like, I'm finally like getting the recognition I deserve and using that to continue that platform, hopefully moving forward.
So now looking at the finished product, do you have a favorite, I know it's like picking your babies, but do you have a favorite scene or favorite moment in the film?
Oh man, I mean, from a performance standpoint, when Brenner loses her husband, which once again is not a giveaway, it's literally in the trailer. When she loses her husband, that is for anyone who's suffered loss. And there is a lot of loss that's happening right now in the world. That's something that emotionally, I think many can empathize with, just the concept of loss and the experience of loss. But then from an action standpoint, my favorite scene is this epic oneer that we did in the final act, where beginning to end, I mean, everyone had to hit their mark. Every breakaway had to be in the perfect position. When my husband and I did previs for it and designed the action for it, every camera move, we showed the DP, like, you have to cover this hit here, you have to make sure this one isn't a miss here. And first take, we did it. First take was the take we used. I couldn't believe it. I'm like, did we really pull this off? Like, I can't believe it. And then I collaborated with our brilliant composer who also did the score, named Austin Frey. And I had a really specific idea for the score I wanted for that sequence. I'm like, I want banjos, and then I want like the banjos to be accompanied by like some electric guitar. And then he's like, and drums. I'm like, yes, and drums. And so he would go on the drums, and then we'd mix that with like electric guitar, and we'd fuse these two things together. And I'm like, I want people to watch this. I want them to say, holy shit. And I also want them to laugh. And I feel like we accomplished that, at least from my perspective. Every time I watched it, and I've seen it so many times, just in the editing room and when we were designing it, I still, every time I see it, I'm like, that's crazy.
That's great. So I hear you're in a little film called Matrix 4.
Yeah, that old chestnut.
So I know you can't give me any big plot spoilers, but what memory do you take away from having worked on that you could share with us? Maybe it's a behind the scenes moment or something like that.
Well, aside from, my God, being part of cinematic history, like I still remember seeing that opening sequence of Matrix, and I'd never seen anything like that before. I'm like, this is going to be part of history. And to be a part of that franchise, I mean, like, where do I go from here? It's really, really incredible. And then another level of that is I got to collaborate with my husband. So he was part of the rigging design team. He was actually a key rigger on the San Francisco segment, and it was the 8711 action design team. So this is my family. So to be over in San Francisco and Berlin with my family was it just felt right. There's nothing about it that felt like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I'm here. It was like, shit, yeah, I deserve to be here. Like, this is my family. Like, I speak their language, they speak my language. Like, it just fit. Sometimes when you work on a production, the magic happens.